Next, I'd like to invite Dr. Prathaap Rao and Sourabh. They're the founders of Pothole Raja. Dr. Prathaap used to be a fighter with the armed forces. And from saving people's lives from the sky, he's taken on the mantle to now save people's lives on the roads. Because how can people drive and get killed just because of potholes? So he and Sourabh are going to talk about what Pothole Raja is all about. So I'm just going to make sure you guys are able to. There you go.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I think it's an amazing opportunity to share about the journey of how fixing potholes to making sustainable roads, right from the times of flying in the air, being a fighter pilot, to coming down to actually on the ground, seeing at the grassroots level, not the 36,000 feet level, right? It's been an extraordinary journey for us to see how transitioning from actually fixing potholes emerged as a research or a trigger for me about 6 years back. And the way it all started was because I do a lot of work in teaching and work with children. One of the programs that I work on is Sustainable Social Action Project, which is working on an individual capacity, can they make an impact to society? And that's one of the critical triggers that started making me think that what is that as an individual can you start working towards and make a community a little more sensible and responsible for the city that we live or the community that we are part of. And that's how Pothole Raja started. It's been an extremely great journey. I've had some interesting part of my life in different corporates and life. About 2017, when I actually doing a lot of media started covering what I was doing as an individual. Though I didn't have any personal tragedies, nobody died in my family, and then I didn't start fixing potholes. That's mostly the news that you would have seen around, that somebody lost their children or loved ones, and hence they go and fix potholes or make roads better. Nothing such happened, but I thought before it happens to anyone else, before they lose their loved ones, can we do something about it? And then when I started doing, a lot of volunteers joined in hands, thanks to a lot of media support. 2017 Jan, Sourabh called me. He used to be a software engineer with HP, and he had this bug of being socially relevant, and I think that's when he connected and said, can I volunteer? And incidentally, next day morning I was actually fixing pothole at St. John's Hospital in Koramangala, and he came back 5:30 in the morning, because that's the most non-peak time for us to not have any traffic impacts. And that's how Sourabh joined in. For about 6-7 months, continued to be working with HP and also volunteer wherever we used to fix potholes. And then finally, he left HP and then said, this is more convincing and fulfilling in life, and he's been running our operations from then. I think like that, it's been an extremely great journey with a lot of volunteers across. And it's been a great transition for us with a lot of great support. And I mean, thanks to Brigade REAP, we've been part of the acceleration program for now almost 2 years. We've had a lot of great support in terms of research, material science, the kind of work. So I'm sure you've all seen road infrastructure. I'm sure you've all gone through the heat and the toxicity when they are actually laying road, the burning and the emissions around the tar and things like that. That's where I moved on, saying that why do we have to go with the traditional model of road laying? And now I had a lot of fortune of moving around different countries and working on different consulting projects, part of my management consulting space. That's when I got exposed to cold asphalt, which is a very eco-friendly, non-heated based emulsion which is available for making roads. Of course, people have been mostly using cold processed tar for something else, but I said, why not use that in Indian context? And that's how I started in India. Now, another transition which very importantly happened was pothole is a post-mortem. I mean, there's already a damage, it's a bad road, you want to fix it because people shouldn't fall and die or break their arms or even economic damage to their vehicles. That's when the last 3 years has been a very important part of our journey in learning. How do we make roads that doesn't need to maintain? I mean, how can we have no potholes on the roads? Typically, the life of a government road is not more than one season. One rain and I'm sure the road is vanished, right? I'm sure you've all gone through that cycle in the last 1 month in Bangalore or across India. The roads are almost getting vanished, right? So that's where we moved and transitioned towards, the product that we're going to talk through. So these are just some numbers for, we've done about 10,000 odd potholes in 10 cities, had an amazing set of volunteers joining our, as individuals, as CSR, as organizations supporting through volunteering, employee engagement. We've had a great support from government. Though we don't work with government as contractor, it's been an important asset because the ownership of a public road is still with government, right? And a lot of people complain and saying that I pay taxes, it's supposed to be their responsibility, why are you doing? And that's been a good challenge that we always continue to say it's my also responsibility. It's not just the tax that we pay. This is a product that is revolutionary that we believe is going to change the way sustainable road development happens. This is something which we have as a product. It's been a very important thinking around how do we use waste. She talked about straw waste. This is plastic waste which is completely recycled, made into a usable road infrastructure. Not just road, any kind of surface that you need a rigid surface. And it can be a concrete surface, a parking area, you have access roads, you want to make basements, the applications have variety. I'm going to just talk through some of them, in a very quick shell. So maybe Sourabh, you want to add on?
So, problem of plastic, right? It does not need any introduction. It's a massive challenge all across, and here and there, wherever we see, it's all plastic waste. Let's not talk about numbers. It's all evident. When we start talking about the numbers, it is just huge. So I'll skip that part. I'll not even talk about how much plastic we are generating because we are all aware it's in thousands of metric tons. So what exactly we do from the product that we have, if you see this image that is there right in front of you, there are multiple layers that goes on before a road is constructed. So the left side is what you see, multiple layers, and that's where the final surface is there. Final surface can be a concrete pavement or a bituminous pavement, right? What is the advantage that our grid mats is carrying? We reduce that complete thickness by almost 50%. Yes, you heard me right, almost by 50%. Now that's the reduction that happens in the base creation, and on top of that, we just have our grid, which is 40 mm thick. That's all. So let's say we want to make a concrete pavement. What we do is we fill concrete only in the pockets. You see these pockets? The concrete gets filled only in these pockets. That's all. If I have to tell you about the strength of this small little grid, it can carry the weight of a Boeing 747. Yes, it's that strong. It can carry up to 400 metric tons of load in just this empty grid. When we fill it with any of these fillings, whether that's a concrete, bitumen, or maybe just stone aggregates, the load bearing capacity goes beyond 1,000 metric tons. That is, equivalent to carrying maybe 3 Boeing 747s on top of each other. So that's how it's very strong and sturdy. And the reason why we were saying that pothole fixing is a postmortem, and what happens when we have our grid mats is you will never get into potholes. Worst case scenario, let's imagine that the surface that we have created on top of that, it fails. You still have our grid mats. The pothole is never going to happen. So you'll never have an accident. And fixing this is going to be very, very easy. So what we have, next slide, yeah. So what exactly, if you see this is a very evident picture, right? The tires move in one track, and over a period of time, a lot of undulations happen. And that's where cracks start appearing and the roads start breaking. With our grid mat, there is no such issue. Why is that? Because the load gets equally distributed and there is no significant impact. Now, when I talk about what are the parameters in terms of few numbers, in 1 kilometer road construction that we do, we use somewhere around 32 metric tons of plastic waste. Now, as compared to the traditional approach, we are reducing carbon emission by 80%. And that's a massive number. When we also did the entire study, we were also very surprised, and it was a good surprise for us. So,
to add on to this, traditionally, if you look at road construction, every product that is used is generating emissions, is from natural resources. It's either steel, concrete construction, cement construction process, manufacturing, the aggregates, you get the base creation done, the amount of diesel running on top with road rollers. If you have to heat bitumen and get from the plant, it needs so much of diesel to actually burn, heat it, melt it, and it needs to be stored at X 120 degrees temperature before it is laid. So the amount of environmental damage and the impact it is creating is extremely high. If we consolidate all of it, maybe numbers are a little more. Thanks to Smartadhamma, who did a study in terms of what actually is the environmental impact, in terms of our entire life cycle, right from manufacturing, installation, and post, and we'll continue to do the 5-year or a 10-year impact of our product. So what it says clearly is we are emitting 4 times less carbon on the entire environment, in this process. We're saving or reducing about 30% of water usage. I'm sure you all know when you put a concrete surface, it needs curing, and it needs a lot of water to absorb over a period of 7 to 12 days or 14 days curing. That is reduced significantly through this. And of course, on a larger scale, it impacts directly on the Sustainable Development Goals the UN has been working towards, and each of us are in that space of working. Now the options on this, as as a customer or as your application goes, you can choose to fill any kind of top surface. You want an asphalt road, you want a bituminous road, you want a just a colorful landscape, or a stone-filled gravel road. I mean, it's your choice. And the applications have variety. I mean, you can right from creating a runway for a airfield to large parkings to a mining road. Another very important thing in road infrastructure, I think, which is not seen or heard of, is portable roads. Can you create a road that you want to use for, let's say, 3 months, and you want to remove it and move it to another place? That can be done here. Imagine you fill this with aggregates or mud, you grow grass, and let's say after 6 months you want to move that place. Example, it's a very big application in mining areas. Mining are temporary works. You don't need roads for lifelong. So can we create roads with this? It can still take heavy loads of traffic and still be portable in an application. Of course, there are many applications that we can. These are some certificates which qualifies and says that it can take that kind of a load. We talked about the traditional approach, use of steel. These are some examples of how we have done. This is inside Maruti factory. This is ABB, just around Pina industrial area. We have had a fortune of working with varieties of organizations, both public and private, thanks to a lot of media support that we have had. This is a large godown, I think a warehouse platform that was created with our grid math structure. This is inside the factory of Maruti Suzuki in Gurgaon. They wanted all the 4 varieties of installation: concrete road, bituminous road, and landscaping road. This is a car garage. This is another very interesting project that we did inside RMZ Eco World, which is one of its kind speed breaker hump using our grid mats. I think it's one overnight we could do this entire thing and fix this up. This is a Jindal steel factory in Bellary. Apartment inside Prestige. This is another very interesting project. I'm sure you all walked on a footpath which has drains, and the cover slabs of these drains are also steel reinforced, traditionally done. We've done with our grid mats as a slab. So the entire Pina, about 2 kilometers of road footpath covers, is actually with our drain systems of grid mats.
So some few numbers I'll throw around over here. As of now, we have saved around 2,000 metric tons of carbon emission, and that translates to roughly around 81 lakh kilometer of car travel. So this is what we have done, and we have executed only small little pilots as of now. So I'm sure that the numbers are going to rise because the number of inquiries is also pretty huge, and very soon probably we'll be talking in maybe a lakh kilometer of car travel saving, and a lot more. And we are very glad that we could present in front of all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Prathaap. Thank you, Sourabh. Looking forward to pothole-free roads.